Okay, brothers and sisters, we are back with our very respected and honored guest, Abu Amina Bilal Philips, author of several books and noted Islamic scholar and lecturer. Brother Bilal, we just left off talking about the importance of Islamic education and the value of our youth. Another one of our extremely valuable assets is our indigenous new convert Muslims or convert Muslims. But we experience the same problem each time one of them comes in. They get invited as soon as they become Muslim. They open the door, and here comes all of the groups, all of the different sects or different factions that are ready to call to their particular type of style of Islam. So if the community is large enough, then there's a big tug of war that starts, and then the new Muslim gets confused. You are obviously an authority, and to say that you have been there and done that is an understatement. So could you make it easy for our new Muslim brothers and sisters out there and give them some guidance that might help them steer clear of the confusions that are brought about by our disunity, in that, at least in the ideological sense?
Well, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam wa rasulillah. I would say that the real struggle that new Muslim is going to be faced with is one of getting correct knowledge from the beginning. Having access to correct knowledge where they can build a solid foundation by which they can then determine whether, which way to go. Which of these groups are relevant or, good to work with or not good to work with. Now, this is the point, that most people get caught up in these things before they have a chance to grow Islamically and gain sufficient knowledge to be able to make the distinction or to distinguish between those groups that are worth joining or working with and those that are not. So that's the real challenge, as I see it. Anyway, if I were to say to people, because that's basically what you're asking me now, what information for all the new Muslims who are listening to this program, what is the basic information that you need to know in order to maneuver your way through the maze that's ahead of you? I would say the basic information is that you have to hang on firmly to the Quran and the Sunnah. That's the foundation that the Prophet ﷺ had said, whoever holds on firmly to them will never go astray. That's his promise. So one holds on firmly to them, and of course, we must understand them as they were understood by the early generations, because of course you got tafsirs out there of the Quran, commentaries on the Quran, which are off, with, deviant, etc. So you have to know that this interpretation of the Quran you're reading is one which has gathered the understanding of that early generation. For example, the tafsir of Ibn Kathir. You want to get into more depth into understanding the Quran. You get a good translation at first. You start off with, Sahih International or Mohsin Khan's, Noble Quran. Like these are good translations that you can work with. But then, if you want to get into more depth understanding what you're reading more into the background of what you're reading, then you get Tafsir Ibn Kathir. It's now available on the market. It's a bit expensive for some people who, don't have a job or in a new job or whatever. But it's worth purchasing if you can afford it. Otherwise, borrow it from your masjid. Most masjids will probably have a copy of it. So you protect yourself in that way. And also with the Quran, along with the Quran is the Sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ has explained the meaning of the Quran through the Sunnah. So where you have people calling you to their ideas, their concepts, their opinions, etc., they're not really mentioning Quran, or they only mention Quran and they don't tell you anything about the Sunnah. And they mention a verse from the Quran, but they don't tell you really what it meant in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. What did the Prophet ﷺ say about this verse? What did the Sahaba? How did they understand it? How did they practice it? So you're not getting that kind of understanding, then beware. Stay away. Find somebody who is going to teach you the Quran and the Sunnah, to teach you Islam from the perspective of the Quran and the Sunnah. Quran and its authentic interpretation. The authentic Sunnah, that's the hadiths which are authentic, and its correct understanding. So when you have that foundation, inshallah, you will be on the right path. So that would be my advice to those who newly come into Islam, to try to find some circles of knowledge where this is being offered, some channels where it's available. As I said, my website, IslamicOnlineUniversity.com, is designed to provide opportunity for you.
Inshallah ta'ala. We'll take you up on that. Last couple of questions. The Muslim callers here in the West are kind of fighting two battles. The wave that we are experiencing now of extremism is really harming and tarnishing the image of Islam around the globe. We are fighting two battles. One against the Islamophobes who are using the actions of stray Muslims, terrorists, to try to paint Islam as a religion of violence. And then on the other hand, you have some within the Muslim community who say that, okay, this is the real Islam, what you are seeing, the real heroes of Islam, Bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and so on and so forth. What do you advise us to do in this type of condition, situation, in fending off these two waves, the Islamophobes on one side and the extremists on the other?
Well, what such calls depend on is ignorance. The Islamophobes, for them to be successful, for them to have an impact, they have to prey on the ignorance of the masses. So the way to oppose that is through knowledge. Similarly, those who are playing on the emotional elements in the Muslim community, where, of course, when we see their children or Muslim kids being killed in Palestine, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and these kind of things, we see women, what's happened to them, murders, all kinds of things happening to Muslims, then, it's promoted in a particular way, then, people then become motivated to carry out the acts of violence. So they play on people's emotions, right? So, my advice, of course, is that this can only be opposed through knowledge. It's knowledge which is ultimately going to clear up this situation. So we want to make knowledge as easily accessible to people as possible. We encourage people, don't jump to conclusion. Take time and learn the religion. Get your foundation straight. Know what Islam is about, so that you can make a valid choice. So that would be, my general advice for people to avoid falling into either extreme, whether non-Muslims or Muslims, responding emotionally to the da'wah or the call of those who are distorting actually the truth of Islam and promoting it either, as a violent religion or promoting it as a religion of jihad, and that's what's most important. We need to establish this khilafah, and by any means necessary. We have conditions, we have principles, we have a set of guidelines which the Prophet ﷺ has left behind him for us to follow. We need to know those guidelines.
Right. I totally agree. All right. Well, we have gotten into some deep stuff here. We're going to take another brief pause for the cause here real quick. But when we come back, we're going to get into a new topic here with you. Again, we're so honored to have you with us. Thank you so much. And we'll be right back.